Jake Morrison stared at his screen with growing worry. The signals from Earth had stopped. All of them? At once. For 12 years, Jake had worked at the Kepler 7 monitoring station. He watched space traffic, tracked messages, and kept records of all the activity in this part of the galaxy. Earth was always busy. Ships came and went every hour. Messages flew back and forth between worlds. Trade deals, family calls, news reports. Earth never slept. But now there was nothing. Jake ran his hand through his gray hair. His 3 eyes, a gift from his Zephyrian mother, blinked in sequence as he checked his equipment. Everything worked fine. The problem was not on his end. Computer, show me Earth's communication logs for the past 24 hours. He said. The screen filled with data. Messages, calls, and signals flowed normally until exactly 1432 Galactic Standard Time. Then everything stopped. Not slowly. Not one by one. All at once, like someone had flipped a switch. Jake's blue skin turned pale. In all his years of monitoring, he had never seen anything like this. Even during the Centauri War, Earth had kept sending messages. Even during the great solar storm of 2381, some signals had gotten through. He reached for his communication device. Amy Carter needed to know about this. Amy Carter was having lunch with her friend Zix when her communicator buzzed. She looked at the caller ID and frowned. Jake Morrison never called during his shift unless something was very wrong. "Excuse me," she said to the insect-like alien across from her. Amy pressed the answer button. "Jake, what's going on?" "Amy, we have a problem. Earth has gone silent." Amy nearly dropped her sandwich. "What do you mean, silent?" "No signals. Number. Ships. No messages. Nothing has come from Earth in the past 6 hours." Amy stood up quickly. Her chair scraped against the floor of the Centauri Council Station's dining hall. Other beings looked at her with curiosity. Humans rarely showed such sudden emotion. "That's impossible," Amy said. "Earth handles millions of communications every day. The stock exchange alone sends out thousands of signals per hour." "I know," Jake replied. "But the last signal came at 1432. Since then, nothing." Amy's mind raced. She was the human liaison officer for this sector. If something had happened to Earth, she would be the first to know. But her own communication channels to Earth were also quiet. "I'll contact the other stations," Amy said. "Maybe it's just a problem with the relay systems." But deep down, she knew it was not that simple. Within an hour, Amy had her answer. Every monitoring station in the galaxy reported the same thing. Earth had gone completely silent. No outgoing messages, no departing ships, no response to incoming calls. The news spread through the galactic community like fire through dry grass. Earth, the planet that never stopped talking, had suddenly stopped talking. In the command center of the human ship Horizon, Captain Lisa Brooks received the emergency message from Fleet Command. She read it twice before she believed it. "All ships." "This is Captain Brooks," she announced over the ship's communication system. "We have new orders. We are to proceed immediately to the Sol system to investigate reports of communication failure from Earth." Her crew of humans and aliens looked at each other with concern. Communication failure was one thing. Complete silence was another. "Captain," said her first officer, a tall human named Pete Johnson, "how long since the last contact with Earth?" 8 hours, Lisa replied, "and counting." The Horizon changed course toward Earth. It would take them 3 days to reach the Sol system. Lisa hoped they would find answers there, but as they traveled, more disturbing news arrived. The Martian colonies were also silent. The space stations around Jupiter had stopped responding. Even the mining operations in the asteroid belt had gone quiet. It was as if every human in the Sol system had simply vanished. On the third day, the horizon arrived at the edge of the Sol system. Lisa stood on the bridge, looking at the view screen. What she saw made her heart sink. The space lanes were empty. Usually, hundreds of ships moved between the planets. Trade vessels, passenger ships, military patrols. The Sol system was always busy. Now it looked like a ghost town. "Captain," said the communications officer, "I'm getting no response from Earth traffic control. No response from Mars base. No. Response from Europa Station." Lisa nodded grimly. "Take us toward Earth. Keep scanning for any signs of life." As they approached Earth, the ship's sensors began picking up something strange. The planet looked normal from space. The continents were in the right places. The oceans were blue. The clouds swirled in familiar patterns. But something was different. "Captain," said the science officer, "a young woman named Kate Adams. Detecting an energy field around Earth. It's very faint, but it's there." "What kind of energy field?" Lisa asked. "I've never seen anything like it. It's not blocking our sensors, but it's strange, like it's bending space around the planet." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "Can we communicate through it?" "I don't know. We can try." For the next hour, they tried everything. Radio signals, subspace communications, even old-fashioned light signals. Nothing got through. Earth was wrapped in a bubble of energy that seemed to absorb or deflect everything they sent. "Captain," Pete said quietly, "what do we do now?" Lisa looked at the planet that had been humanity's home for thousands of years. Somewhere down there, billions of people lived their lives. Or had lived their lives. She could not tell which. "We wait," she said. "And we call for help." Within hours, ships from across the galaxy began arriving in the Sol system. The Zephyrian Empire sent their best scientists. The Crystalline Collective brought their most advanced sensors. The nomadic tribes offered their expertise in strange phenomena. All of them had the same question. What had happened to the humans? As more ships arrived, the energy field around Earth began to pulse. Slowly at first, then faster. It was as if the planet was breathing, or as if something inside was waking up. Lisa watched the pulsing energy field and felt a growing sense of dread. Whatever had happened to Earth, she was certain of one thing. This was just the beginning. The alien fleets formed a ring around Earth. Ships from 12 different species floated in the darkness of space, all trying to solve the same mystery. What had happened to the humans? Dr. Alex Turner floated in zero gravity as he studied the readings from his equipment. The research vessel Endeavour was the most advanced science ship in the Galactic Council fleet. If anyone could figure out the energy field around Earth, it would be his team. "The field is definitely artificial," Alex said to his assistant. Crystalline being named Vex. But the energy signature is unlike anything in our databases." Vex's crystal body sparkled as he processed the information. "Could it be a weapon? Some kind of shield?" "Maybe," Alex replied. "But why would humans shield their entire planet? And where are they getting the power?" The energy field was massive. It wrapped around Earth like a soap bubble, extending out past the moon's orbit. The amount of power needed to maintain such a field should have been impossible for human technology. On the command ship of the Zephyrian fleet, Commander Ryan Phillips was coordinating the search of human installations throughout the Sol system. His teams had found something very strange. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Jen Adams, "we've finished searching the Mars colonies. They're empty, but not abandoned." Ryan's 3 eyes focused on her. "Explain." "There are signs of a rapid evacuation. Food was left on tables. Computer terminals were still running. Personal belongings were left behind. But there's no sign of struggle or panic." "How many people lived on Mars?" "According to the records, about 50,000. All gone," Ryan felt. A chill, 50,000 people do not just disappear. And if they had evacuated, where had they gone? Similar reports came in from all over the Sol system. The space stations around Jupiter were empty but functional. The mining ships in the asteroid belt floated dead in space. Their crews vanished. Even the small research outpost on Pluto was deserted. It was as if every human in the solar system had simply walked away from their lives at the same moment. Back on the Endeavor, Alex made a breakthrough. Hidden in the computer systems of an abandoned space station, he found fragments of encrypted data. The files were heavily damaged, but some information could be recovered. Project Sanctuary. Alex read from his screen. Final protocol activated. All personnel to report to deep stations immediately. Vex's crystals chimed softly. Deep stations? What are deep stations? I don't know, Alex said, but look at this timestamp. These files were created just minutes before Earth went silent. More. Encrypted fragments revealed tantalizing clues. References to the deep places appeared multiple times. There were mentions of construction projects that had been running for decades. And most mysterious of all, repeated references to the Watchers in the Dark. Alex shared his findings with the other ships. Captain Lisa Brooks on the horizon studied the data with growing confusion. Construction projects? She said to her crew, what kind of construction projects could humans hide for decades? Her science officer, Kate Adams, had been studying the energy field around Earth. Captain, I think I know where they might be. Where? Underground? Look at these seismic readings from before Earth went silent. There was massive activity deep. Beneath the surface, not earthquakes. Construction. The idea seemed impossible. How could humans build something large enough to house billions of people without anyone knowing? But as the investigation continued, more evidence appeared. Old mining permits for projects that were far larger than necessary. Shipping records for materials that seemed to disappear. Energy consumption on Earth that was much higher than it should have been. They were building something, Lisa said. Something big. Something secret. As the alien ships continued their investigation, strange things began to happen. Crew members reported hearing whispers during their sleep cycles. The whispers were in human languages, but the words were unclear. On the Zephyrian command ship, Ryan Phillips was awakened by his own dreams. In them, he heard human voices calling out warnings. They come, the voices said. They come from the dark between stars. Ryan tried to dismiss the dreams as stress, but other crew members reported similar experiences. The whispers were always the same. Warnings about something coming from the darkness of space. Dr. Alex Turner was working late in his laboratory when it happened. The energy field around Earth suddenly flared bright. For just a moment, the field became visible to the naked eye, wrapping around the planet like a shimmering net. Then, just as quickly, it returned to normal. Did everyone see that? Alex called out over the communications network. Every ship had detected the flare. The energy field had pulsed like a heartbeat, sending waves of strange radiation across the solar system. But the most shocking discovery came from the deep space sensors. Captain Lisa Brooks stared at the readings with disbelief. That's impossible, she whispered. The energy pulse had been directed outward into deep space. It was not random. It was aimed at something specific, something far beyond the solar system. And 15 minutes after the pulse, they received an answer. It came from the direction of the galactic core. A signal so faint that only the most sensitive equipment could detect it. But the message was clear, even though it made no sense. Signal received. Perimeter holding. Estimate 73 standard years until arrival. The message was in human language, but it came from empty space, thousands of light years away. Alex ran the calculation 3 times to be sure. The signal had originated from a region of space where no human ships had ever traveled. A region that was supposed to be empty. Arrival of what? He asked the empty laboratory dot, as if in answer to his question. The long-range sensors detected something else. At the very edge of their range, almost too faint to notice, several star systems had simply disappeared. Not destroyed. Not exploded. Just gone, as if they had never existed. Alex felt his stomach drop. Whatever the humans were hiding from, it was already here. And it was moving toward the galactic core, toward Earth. On the bridge of the horizon, Captain Lisa Brooks made a decision. That would change everything. Open a channel to all ships, she ordered. Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Brooks to all vessels. Based on our findings, I believe the humans are not missing. They are hiding. And I think we need to find out why. She paused, looking at the energy field that wrapped around Earth like a protective shell. Because whatever they're hiding from, it's coming for all of us. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Rachel Stone had been on the Mining Station series when Earth went silent. As one of the few humans not on Earth when the silence fell, she had a unique perspective on the mystery. Rachel floated in the zero-gravity laboratory aboard the Endeavour, working alongside Dr. Alex Turner. Her fingers flew over the keyboard as she tried to crack the encrypted files they had found. There, she said suddenly. I've got something. The screen filled with data. Hidden beneath layers of encryption was a complete record of something called Project Sanctuary. As Rachel read through the files, her face grew pale. Alex, she said quietly, you need to see this. Alex drifted over to her workstation. What he saw made his crystalline assistant Vex chime in alarm. The files contained detailed plans for the largest construction project in human history. For 50 years, humans had been building massive underground cities beneath Earth's surface. The cities were designed to house not just humans, but representatives from every species in the galaxy. But why? Alex asked. Why build underground cities in secret? Rachel scrolled through more files. Her hands shook as she found the answer. Because of this, she said, pointing to a section labeled, The Warning. The files described an ancient alien artifact that had been discovered on Earth's moon in 2337. The artifact was a beacon left by a civilization that had died out millions of years ago. Inside the beacon was a message, a warning about something called the DEVOURERS. Alex read the translated message with growing horror. The Devourers were described as beings from outside normal space and time. They moved from galaxy to galaxy, consuming everything in their path. Stars, planets, entire civilizations, nothing could stop them. According to this, Rachel said, the Devourers destroy galaxies by eating the very fabric of space itself. They leave nothing behind, not even empty space. Just ... nothing. The ancient civilization that had left the warning had tried to fight the Devourers. They had failed. Their entire galaxy had been consumed. But before the end, they had managed to send out warning beacons to other galaxies. The beacon calculated when the Devourers would reach our galaxy, Rachel continued. The date was 2460. That's only 73 years from now. Alex felt his 3 hearts skip a beat. 73 years. The same number that had been in the mysterious signal from deep space. The humans have been preparing for this for 50 years, Rachel said. They've been building weapons, defenses, and safe places for everyone to hide. As Rachel continued to read through the files, the true scope of human preparation became clear. They had not just been building underground cities. They had been studying the Devourers, learning their weaknesses, and developing new technologies to fight them. Captain Lisa Brooks received the report on the bridge of the horizon. She read it 3 times before she fully understood what it meant. They knew, she said to her first officer, Pete Johnson. The humans knew this was coming, and they've been preparing for it. But why didn't they tell anyone? Pete asked. Lisa thought about that. Because who would have believed them? An ancient alien? Warning about monsters from another dimension? Most species would have thought humans were crazy. On the command ship of the Zephyrian fleet, Commander Ryan Phillips was having the same realization. The whispers his crew had been hearing made sense now. The dreams, the warnings about something. Coming from the dark, they were echoes of the preparation that had been happening on Earth. "Sir," reported Lieutenant John Adams, "we're detecting movement from the energy field around Earth." Ryan turned to the main view screen. The energy field was changing, becoming less stable. Sections of it flickered and pulsed, as if something was trying to break through from the inside. "Are they coming out?" Ryan asked. Before anyone could answer, a section of the energy field opened like a door. A single human ship emerged, moving slowly toward the alien fleet. The ship was unlike any human vessel they had ever seen. It was larger than most battleships, but its hull was covered in strange patterns that seemed to bend light around them. Weapon systems lined its surface, but they were of a design that no one recognized. Captain Lisa Brooks received the incoming communication. "First, this is General Paul Jackson of the Earth Defense Force. I am requesting a meeting with the commanding officers of all vessels in this system." Lisa looked at her crew with surprise. General Paul Jackson had been reported as retired 5 years ago, but here he was, commanding a ship that should not exist. "This is Captain Brooks of the Horizon. General, we thought you were missing along with everyone else on Earth." "We were never missing, Captain. We were preparing. And now it's time for the rest of the galaxy to learn what we've been preparing for." An hour later, representatives from every ship in the alien fleet gathered in the main conference room of the Zephyrian command vessel. General Jackson appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from his mysterious ship. Jackson was older than Lisa remembered, his hair now completely gray, but his eyes held a determination that had not been there before. 50 years ago, Jackson began, we found something on the moon. A warning from a dead civilization about a threat that would come to our galaxy. We had a choice. We could tell everyone and hope they would believe us, or we could prepare in secret." "Why in secret?" asked Commander Ryan Phillips. "Because panic would have destroyed us long before the Devourers arrived," Jackson replied. "Instead, we used the time to build defenses and develop weapons that could actually fight these things." Dr. Alex Turner leaned forward. "The energy field around Earth. What is it really?" Jackson smiled grimly. "It's not a shield to keep things out. It's a cage to keep things in. We've turned Earth into the largest fortress in the galaxy. Underground cities that can house billions of beings. Weapons that can damage extra-dimensional entities. And volunteers from every species who have been training to fight an enemy that most people can't even imagine." The revelation stunned the alien representatives. While they had been focused on trade and politics, humans had been quietly preparing for a war that would determine the fate of all life in the galaxy. "But how did you keep it secret?" asked the crystalline representative. "Cultural exchange programs," Jackson replied. "Educational visits, scientific expeditions. Over the years, we brought representatives from every species to Earth. We told them the truth and gave them a choice. Join us in preparing for what's coming, or return to their lives with their memories altered." "Memory alteration?" Ryan Phillips looked shocked. "That's forbidden by galactic law." "Galactic law won't matter if we're all dead," Jackson said simply. "We did what we had to do to protect everyone." As if summoned by his words, alarms began sounding throughout the fleet. The long-range sensors had detected something new. On the edge of the galaxy, entire star systems were winking out of existence. Not exploding, not being destroyed, simply ceasing to exist. The Devourers had arrived early. "How long do we have?" Lisa asked. Jackson checked his instruments. "Based on their current rate of consumption, they'll reach the galactic core in 6 months. 6 months to prepare for a war against beings that consumed an entire civilization." "No," Jackson said. And for the first time, he smiled. 6 months to spring the trap we've been building for 50 years. As he spoke, the energy field around Earth began to change. Instead of a simple barrier, it transformed into something far more complex. Patterns of light raced across its surface, and the very space around Earth seemed to bend and twist. "Welcome," Jackson said, "to the real Earth Defense Force." The energy field around Earth suddenly dropped like a curtain being pulled away. What the alien fleet saw beneath it made them gasp in wonder and fear. Earth's surface had been transformed. Massive weapon platforms covered every continent. Shield generators the size of mountains dotted the landscape. The oceans themselves seemed to glow with strange energy. This was not the Earth that anyone remembered. Captain Lisa Brooks stared at the view screen in amazement. "How did you hide all of this?" General Paul Jackson's voice came through the communicator. "Holographic camouflage and dimensional folding. We made the surface look normal while we built the real defenses underneath. But the surface was just the beginning." As the alien ships watched, huge sections of the planet's crust began to move. They slid apart like puzzle pieces, revealing vast underground spaces that stretched for miles beneath the surface. Cities, entire cities filled with billions of people. Humans worked alongside beings from every known species. Zephyrians, crystallines, nomads, and dozens of other races moved through the underground spaces with purpose and coordination. "My God," whispered Dr. Alex Turner. "How many people are down there?" 15 billion, Jackson replied. "Humans and volunteers from across the galaxy, all trained for this moment." The scale of the operation was staggering. For 50 years, humans had been secretly recruiting and training an army. Cultural exchange programs had been cover stories. Scientific expeditions had been recruitment missions. Even some of the alien representatives watching from the fleet had been approached years. Algo. Commander Ryan Phillips felt a chill as he recognized some of the faces in the underground cities. His own aide, Lieutenant John Adams, appeared on the screen wearing human military gear. "John?" Ryan called out in shock. The young woman looked up at the camera and smiled sadly. "I'm sorry, Commander. I volunteered for this program 3 years ago. My memories were altered so I could continue working with you without suspicion." Similar revelations were happening across the fleet. Crew members who had been working alongside aliens for years revealed themselves as part of the human preparation. The infiltration had been deeper than anyone imagined, but there was no time for anger or betrayal. The long-range sensors brought worse news every hour. The Devourers were moving faster than expected. Star systems were disappearing at an alarming rate. Dr. Rachel Stone worked frantically in her laboratory, analyzing the data from the approaching threat. What she found made her blood run cold. "They're not just consuming matter," she reported to the fleet commanders. "They're eating the basic structure of space and time itself. Where they pass, nothing can exist again, not even empty space." The Devourers were not like any enemy the galaxy had ever faced. They came from outside the normal universe, from a place where the laws of physics worked differently. They fed on the very fabric of reality, leaving behind regions where nothing could ever exist again. "How do you fight something like that?" asked Captain Lisa Brooks. General Jackson's image appeared on the main screen. Behind him, the underground cities of Earth buzzed with activity. Humans and aliens worked together, preparing weapons and defenses that defied understanding. "We learned from the ancient beacon," Jackson explained. "The civilization that left the warning had tried to fight the Devourers with conventional weapons. They failed because they were thinking in terms of normal space and time. And you found a different way? Asked Commander Ryan Phillips. We found the human way, Jackson replied. We learned to think in paradoxes and contradictions, to create weapons that work by breaking the rules of physics. On the screen behind Jackson, strange devices were being assembled. They looked like machines built from impossible geometries, with parts that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Dr. Alex Turner studied the designs with fascination. Those weapons, they shouldn't be able to exist. That's exactly why they work, said a new voice. A woman appeared on the screen next to Jackson. She was introduced as Dr. Katie Williams, the chief scientist of the human resistance. The Devourers exist outside normal spacetime, Katie explained. So we had to create weapons that also exist outside normal spacetime. We call them reality anchors. The reality anchors were based on human mathematics that other species had always dismissed as impossible. Equations that produced contradictory results. Formulas that created paradoxes. Only humans, with their ability to think in opposites, had been able to make them work. But that's not all, Katie continued. We've also turned Earth itself into a weapon. The planet's transformation became clearer as she spoke. The underground cities were not just hiding places. They were components of a massive machine that used the entire planet as its power source. Earth had become a reality anchor the size of a world. The plan is simple, General Jackson explained. We let the Devourers approach. When they try to consume the galactic core, we activate the planetary reality anchor. Instead of eating us, they'll be trapped in a pocket of stable spacetime. A prison, Lisa Brooks said, understanding. The ultimate prison, Jackson confirmed. A place where the laws of physics are locked in place. Where nothing can change, nothing can be consumed, and nothing can escape. But the plan came with a terrible cost. To power the reality anchor, Earth would have to sacrifice its connection to normal space. The planet would become a sealed system, cut off from the rest of the galaxy forever. You're willing to trap yourselves with them? Asked Dr. Alex Turner. If that's what it takes to save everyone else, Jackson replied. Humanity has always been willing to make the hard choices. As the fleet commanders absorbed this information, new alarms began to sound. The Devourers had accelerated their approach. They would reach the galactic core in days, not months. All ships, Jackson announced, prepare for final positioning. The last battle for our galaxy is about to begin. The alien fleets moved into formation around Earth. Some would fight alongside the humans. Others would evacuate as many people as possible if the plan failed. But all of them understood that this was the moment that would determine the fate of all life in the galaxy dot and the underground cities of Earth. Humans and aliens worked side by side, preparing for a battle that would be unlike anything in galactic history. Children played in the deep chambers while their parents maintained weapons that could wound reality itself. Will it work? Asked Captain Lisa Brooks as she watched the preparations. General Jackson looked at the screens showing the approaching. Darkness. Star systems continued to disappear as the Devourers drew closer. Soon, they would reach the inner systems. Soon, they would find Earth. It has to work, he said simply. Because if it doesn't, there won't be anyone left to remember that we tried. The final phase of humanity's 50-year plan was about to begin. The species that had seemed so ordinary, so average, was about to reveal the greatest deception in galactic history. They had never been preparing to hide from the Devourers. They had been preparing to trap them dot, and now, as the darkness approached the heart of the galaxy, humanity's true nature was finally revealed. They were not just another species among many. They were the galaxy's guardians, willing to sacrifice everything to protect the lives of others. The last battle was about to begin. The darkness arrived at the edge of the Sol system like a wave of nothingness. Where it touched, stars simply stopped existing. Not exploded, not collapsed, they just ceased to be, leaving behind regions where even empty space could not exist. Admiral. Ben Parker stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface. Around him, hundreds of screens showed the approaching devourers. His hair had gone completely white during the 50 years of preparation, but his eyes still held the determination that had driven humanity's secret project. "All stations report ready," announced his aide, Commander Nicole Davis. "The reality anchors are charged and waiting." Ben nodded. The moment they had prepared for half a century was finally here. Above them, the combined fleets of the galaxy formed defensive lines. Below them, the underground cities housed billions of people from every known species. "Remember," Ben said to his staff, "we only get one chance at this. If the planetary reality anchor fails, there won't be a second try." The Devourers entered the solar system like a tide of destruction. They were not ships or creatures in any sense that living beings could understand. They were holes in reality itself, moving voids that consumed everything they touched. Captain Lisa Brooks watched from the bridge of the horizon as the first wave approached. Her ship was positioned with the human fleet, close enough to Earth to be protected by the reality anchors, but far enough to provide covering fire. "All ships, this is Admiral Parker," came the voice from Earth. "Begin Phase 1. Light them up." They, Galaxy's combined fleets, opened fire. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and kinetic rounds poured into the approaching darkness. For a moment, it seemed like they might be working. The Devourers slowed their advance, but then the weapons simply stopped existing. The energy beams vanished mid-flight. The torpedoes disappeared before they could explode. The kinetic rounds were erased from reality, as if they had never been fired. "Conventional weapons are useless," reported Dr. Alex Turner from the Endeavour. "They're consuming our attacks before they can hit." "Expected," Admiral Parker replied calmly. "All ships, withdraw to Phase 2 positions. It's time for the real weapons." Hidden throughout the solar system, the reality anchors began to activate. These were not the massive planetary device that Earth had become. These were smaller versions, designed to create pockets of stable spacetime where conventional physics still worked. The effect was immediate. In the zones protected by the reality anchors, the galaxy's weapons began to work again. The Devourers found themselves facing an enemy that could actually hurt them, but the cost was enormous. Each reality anchor required massive amounts of energy to maintain. One by one, they began to fail under the strain. "We're losing the outer anchors," reported Commander Nicole Davis. "The Devourers are adapting to our defense." Admiral Parker had expected this. The smaller reality anchors were never meant to win the battle. They were meant to buy time and draw the Devourers toward Earth. "All fleet units, fall back to Earth orbit," he ordered. "Begin Phase 3. The retreat looked like a defeat. The Galaxy's ships fled toward Earth as the Devourers consumed the outer solar system. Mars disappeared first, then the asteroid belt, then Jupiter and its moons. The Devourers were accelerating, drawn by the massive energy signature of Earth's planetary reality anchor. "They're taking the bait," Nicole reported. "All Devourers are converging on Earth." This was the moment Ben Parker had planned for. The Devourers thought they were chasing a fleeing enemy. Instead, they were walking into the largest trap in galactic history. "Activate the planetary reality anchor," Ben ordered. Full power, lock down local spacetime. The effect was incredible. Earth suddenly became the center of a bubble of stable reality. Within this bubble, the laws of physics worked normally. The Devourers could not consume matter or energy. They could not erase things from existence. For the first time in millions of years, the Devourers were trapped. Now, Ben shouted, all ships, all weapons, everything we have. The galaxy's combined fleets unleashed everything they had. But these were not the same weapons they had used before. These were reality weapons, designed by human scientists to work within the stable space-time of the reality anchor. The Devourers, trapped in normal space for the first time, found themselves vulnerable. The reality weapons tore into them, causing damage that they had never experienced before. But the Devourers were learning. They began to adapt, trying to break through the reality anchor that held them prisoner. The anchor is holding, reported Dr. Katie Williams from the main engineering station. But they're putting enormous strain on the system. We can't maintain this forever. Admiral Parker knew this was the critical moment. The Devourers were trapped, but not defeated. If the reality anchor failed, they would escape and continue their consumption of the galaxy. Commander Davis, he said, prepare for final protocol. Nicole looked at him with sadness in her eyes. The final protocol was the last part of humanity's plan. It would save the galaxy, but at the ultimate cost. Are you sure? She asked. We always knew it would come to this, Ben replied. Begin the transformation. Throughout Earth's underground cities, massive machines began to activate. These were not weapons or defenses. They were transformation devices, designed to change the very nature of the planet itself. Earth began to shift out of normal spacetime. The reality anchor was becoming permanent, locking the planet and everything on it in a stable pocket of existence. The Devourers would be trapped forever, unable to escape or consume anything else. But Earth would be trapped with them. All ships. This is Admiral Parker, that announced to the fleet. Earth is about to become a sealed system. Anyone who wants to leave has 60 seconds. Most of the alien ships fled immediately. They had fought bravely, but they had their own worlds to protect. A few ships remained, their crews choosing to stay with the humans who had saved them all. Captain Lisa Brooks made her choice quickly. All crew members who want to leave, report to the escape pods immediately. Anyone staying with Earth, prepare for dimensional transition. About half her crew chose to leave. The rest remained at their posts, accepting their fate alongside humanity. As the transformation continued, the Devourers realized what was happening. They threw themselves against the reality anchor with desperate fury, trying to break free before the trap closed permanently. But it was too late. The transformation was complete. Earth disappeared from normal spacetime, taking the Devourers with it. In the place where Earth had been, there was now a region of stable space that nothing could enter or leave. The galaxy was safe. The Devourers were trapped forever. And humanity had paid the ultimate price for everyone's freedom. In the years that followed, the galaxy remembered. Earth became a memorial, a sealed tomb where the greatest heroes in galactic history had made their final stand. Children from every species learned about the humans who had seemed so ordinary, so average, but who had sacrificed everything to save them all. The memorial bore a simple inscription: Here lies humanity and their allies, who chose to stand guard in the darkness so that others might live in the light. Deep within the sealed reality of Earth, life continued. The underground cities thrived. Children played in the deep chambers, growing up in a world where the greatest victory in galactic history had been won. They were cut off from the galaxy. They had saved, but they were not alone. And in the deepest chambers, where the Devourers were held in their eternal prison, human guards stood watch. They would stand watch forever, making sure that the darkness never escaped again. The species that had seemed so unremarkable had revealed themselves as the galaxy's true guardians. They had given up their place among the stars to ensure that the stars would continue to shine. And in doing so, they had shown what it truly meant to be human.